This recording is going to be audio only because I'm just pacing around thinking of how I want to word certain things. Like the last couple of my videos, it's going to be raw, it's going to be unedited because I think that that's a better representation of actually going through, anxiety recovery. It's not pretty, it's not glossed up. Sometimes it's just very rough, to say the least. So that's just how I choose to do things at this point in time. But I wanted to make this as a little bit more of a motivational thing, bringing in some of the stuff that I went through, and kind of just relating it to where you can get to if you just stick to it and put in the work and put in the effort. I remember like it was yesterday, just waking up, just filled with total fear and dread, and not being able to do anything, not being able to live my life, and having to go through the entire day like that just to get ready to try and go to sleep, which for some people is just impossible. And trying to go to sleep and just fearing going to sleep, fearing not making it through sleep, fearing that I was going to die in my sleep. And also on top of that, fearing the next day because I knew what was going to happen. I knew that the whole day was just going to be filled with dread, agony, adrenaline dumps, symptoms, and it was just a nightmare. So, that all culminated for me when I did wake up with a nocturnal panic attack at like 5 a.m. And every second or third beat, my heart was skipping beats. It led me to the emergency room, and I just thought my life was over. I remember breaking down in the emergency room. I was like in tears, and I thought that my life was over. Like I thought that there was something really wrong with me. I couldn't really. I mean, going back to that time, I couldn't even imagine living the rest of my life out dealing with what I was dealing with. It was just terrible. But I do think that we basically as a society have become more weak-willed. We don't want to really put time and effort into anything. We want instant gratification. We want quick fixes for everything, and we don't work for the payoff. And I see that obviously because it made me, or it drove me to make the video that I made yesterday about the PSA. But it just made me realize a difference in people. Recovery is there if you want it. There are plenty of people who have started from the depths. Like there are plenty of people who have been at, on the verge of suicide. And they said, I'm just going to go one more day. I'm just going to see, what tomorrow brings. I'm going to see if things can change. And they just start to take things a day at a time, as opposed to looking into the future and envisioning a future where there's nothing but misery. I think that if you take the time and you realize that, okay, it's not an overnight process. It didn't take me an overnight process to get to this point. In most cases, it's taken decades that lead up to this point. So it's not gonna go away in a day. But you've gotten reassurances. You've gotten health checks from doctors, or at least you should have, and everything's come back okay. They tell you that it's anxiety. So you can take a deep breath and you can ask yourself, what's stronger now? Is your will to push through this, and your will to persevere, and your will to get through the worst of the recovery period? Is that stronger than the anxiety itself, than the fears that you have? I was reading, I was either reading a book or watching a video where somebody said that, your greatest fears will be your greatest liberation. Basically, or facing your fear will be your greatest liberation. So you know what you have to do. You know that the information to get you through what you're going through is readily available to you. And it's nobody's fault but your own if you don't want to do that. It's nobody's responsibility but yours, whether or not you want to put in the work. Now, do you want to be somebody who changes who they are? Because, like I said, I think that a lot of people are weaker willed nowadays. And that's totally fine. But you don't have to be that way regardless. You can change things about yourself that are not conducive to you, the betterment of yourself. That's the whole, well, I'll say that's one of the biggest things about anxiety recovery, is the fact that you need to change some of these areas of your life that are dragging you down, basically. Usually it's just programming from parents and people in authority, teachers when you were younger, that you've just picked up over the years. The fears, the negative outlooks, the negative thinking, the self-consciousness, the thinking that you're not good enough, thinking that you're a failure, that you can't accomplish your dreams and your goals, and you're just always going to be stuck where you are. And the truth of that is that it's bullshit. I believe that you make your own way. I believe that you can realize that certain belief systems that you had and they were put in place from a younger age can be changed and they could be broken. The same way you got yourself into the negative thinking patterns about anxiety is the same way that you can get yourself out of it. It's just going to be harder. It's just going to be more difficult to break through that, but it's not impossible. And again, I'll keep coming back to the fact that there's plenty of people who are out there and who are open about it on YouTube and who have essentially laid out the plan for you in order for you to make it through. All you have to do is just pick it up and run with it. That's all you have to do. But you have to make the decision that today is the day that I'm going to stick to it. Today is the day that I'm going to push myself. Today's the day I'm going to go outside and go for that walk. Today's the day that I'm going to go outside and go for that little jog. Today's the day that I'm going to do 1 minute of intense exercises. And then next week I'm going to do 1.5 minutes of intense exercises. And I don't care if I'm going to be tired. I'm going to let my heart pump because I know that it's going to. I know that that's normal. I've been checked by doctors. It's fine if my heart starts, pounding. You're exercising and I'm scared. But again, that's going to take you back to what's stronger: your will to get through it, your will to go outside, look up into the sun, take a deep breath, and realize that you're free. Is that going to be stronger than your fear? And are you going to give in to the fear that you can't do anything because regardless of what anybody tells you, you still feel like you're sick and you still feel like you can't exercise, and you're just going to sit there and not even attempt to push yourself and just fall further into the health anxiety or anxiety cycle? That decision rests with nobody else but yourself. And you can't put any blame on anybody else. You can't put that responsibility on anybody else. That's just solely yours. Nobody can make you get better. Therapists, doctors, they can't get you better. They can only prescribe medications as a Band-Aid. And that's all that it is. It's just a Band-Aid. It doesn't get to any root causes of anything. It doesn't rid you of any fears. And it might help you for a short period of time again, but once the next kind of triggers build up again, you're going to be in the same position because you've changed nothing. And I hope that makes sense. I also remember, even if it wasn't symptoms, physical symptoms, it was emotional. Yeah, I remember getting emotional over just nothing, like, cause my emotions were so unregulated. I could just be having a conversation that I could have now about a topic that's close to my heart, but I can have a conversation perfectly fine now. But I remember back then I couldn't. I could barely get a sentence out, especially with talking about my son and the stuff that I had to go through before. Again, a lot of stressful events that led me down the path to anxiety. Like, I could barely get a sentence out without getting emotional. And I was upset, I was mad, I was depressed. I've had an issue with depression essentially since I was a teenager, all leading up to when I developed an anxiety disorder, if you want to call it that. And I was diagnosed with all that kind of stuff. Generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, depression. I mean, I was borderline suicidal 15 years before my anxiety even overflowed, and I had to get through that. And I also heard someone speak yesterday about how they personally don't put stock in depression, because if you change your life, you'll change your outlook and you'll become happier. And I know that outlook is not, probably won't be well received, especially in the medical community, because they always want to prescribe you things and put labels on you. But I was thinking about it, and I tend to agree about the depression. I think a lot, if you're going through this anxiety and health anxiety and you're in your worst place, you're absolutely gonna go through depression, and you're gonna fight through depression. And it's just a what if you can't get through it? What if these symptoms are here forever? What if this is your life? What if there's nowhere to go but here or down? But again, it's up to you to change your outlook, to change your mindset, to visualize your future, and to visualize your future in a positive way. I just gave you a visualization a couple of minutes ago that I had, and then I tried to cling on and visualize every day about being able to walk outside, the sun glaring down on you. You feel the warmth. You could just look up into the sun. You could take a deep breath. Springtime, beautiful weather, and you're free of any symptom. You just have a calm and inner peace going through your body, and you overcame your anxiety. Now, you might see that as an impossibility right now, but if you continue to think negatively about everything that you're going through, would it make sense for you to ever actually get through this period of your life? If you're a negative thinker right now, which is everyone that's in that position, and you never change your outlook to a more positive outlook, and you only see a negative future, how will you ever get out of negativity? Simply, you won't. So you have to change your thought process. You have to change your mindset. You have to envision a future where you're out of it, where you're free of anxiety. Envision the future where you can accomplish whatever you want to do. If you want to travel, picture your future in another country, wherever you want to go. Strive toward that. Picture a place where you want to be in your mind. Take a couple of minutes each day. Doesn't have to be more than 1 minute. Sit down in the morning when you just wake up, close your eyes, Imagine being in the place where you want to be. Write down everything that you see in your mind. What the weather is, where you are, what's around you. Are there landmarks? Are there people? And do that in the morning, do that at night. Take yourself all over the world. Doesn't have to be the same place, it can be different places. But if you do that, number one, it's going to take your mind off of negative thinking all the time. It's not going to last forever, because eventually your mind is going to wander back towards some negativity. But it's baby steps. It's little steps here and there to get your mind thinking in another direction, and to start transitioning yourself to thinking that one day you can accomplish, one of these things. Again, doesn't have to be today. That's fine. It's just a learning process. Until you learn how to get through it, in the sense of changing habits and thought patterns and all that kind of stuff about yourself, you're going to always remain stagnant. And I think that's why a lot of people fail in their recovery, and they just deal with anxiety for the rest of their lives, because they don't realize that. They just think they could do one thing differently and they're going to be fine. They just think that they'll do one thing differently, and all of a sudden their subconscious is going to just get over 30 years, 20 years of programming to be negative, to essentially just beat yourself down, self-sabotage yourself at every turn. So until you start to change that, it's going to be damn near impossible for you to actually get through these very difficult times. I realized that. It took me a little bit to realize, what needed to change, and I'm still kind of doing that. I don't really believe in faking it, fake it till you make it kind of speech. But I do believe that, you can change the way you look at things, and you can change your own outlook on life by becoming a more positive person. Now, how do you do that? I'm sure you could look into certain things. You could find techniques and things about how to become a more positive person. And these are, again, areas that are not looked into when, if you're going to a therapist and things like that. They're not really going to help you here. They're just going to try to make you cope better in the moment when symptoms come up and all that kind of stuff, which again is very short-lived. It's not going to help you in the long run. So again, how do you become positive? Well, self-talk, inner dialogue, inner chatter that you have with yourself is probably going to be the most impactful. You're going to be prone to saying a lot of negative things about yourself. So take a day and pay attention. You have time. You've been cleared by doctors. You have time. Take a day. Think about what's going through your mind. Jot down the thoughts that are going through your head. Compare how many negative ones you see to how many positive ones you see. And I could guarantee you that 2/3 of the page, if not more, is going to be negative. And it's going to be, I don't want to have this symptom. Do I have this symptom? Do I feel this? Do I feel that? Am I checking into that? What if this happens? What if that happens? How do I do B if A happens? Do I feel better today than I did yesterday? I can all but guarantee you that virtually everybody has 2/3 at least of the page filled with negative thinking. So on top of everything else that I mentioned in some of the other videos with the lifestyle habits, this is also incredibly important. They do go hand in hand, the exercising and the mental thoughts. They are linked and intertwined in the case of trying to get yourself out of this. And that's going to make you a hell of a better person overall. And it's not that you're a bad person or anybody's a bad person, but I believe that you can always improve. And I feel like you should always strive to improve. It doesn't matter how old you are. You should always be looking to learn more things, improve upon your life. Just because I don't think that being stagnant is good for your body, mind, spirit. So if you combine those things, you'll see a difference. Like, you will see a difference. It's just, you have to believe it. You have to put your trust in something, and you have to put your faith in something. And when I say put your faith in something, I don't necessarily mean religion, which you can do. I think religion, anxiety is an opening to explore spirituality. But I just meant that you have to put your faith either in the doctors and your good health, or you have to put your faith in the anxiety and your negative thoughts that something's wrong with you. It's got to go somewhere, because if you keep doing what you're doing, nothing's going to change, and it's only going to stay the same or get worse. And that makes perfect sense. So which one will you choose? Now, that answer again is only up to you. But the last thing I'll say is that the information is there for everybody to see. I gave you names in the last video, even if there's more out there than just what I've posted, because this channel is relatively new. But grit your teeth, wake up, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, as they say. Make the decision that today is the last day that I'm going to think I'm dying. Today is the last day that I'm going to stop. I'm not going to listen to the doctor. Today is the last day that I'm going to think that, my negative thinking and my negative self-talk, which has been wrong every single step of the way, by saying that this symptom is going to be the worst of the symptoms. This symptom is worse than any other symptom. I've never felt a symptom like this before. That means that the worst is going to happen. It's time to take a step forward now. Don't just sit in that rut. Start to build momentum. Start to put one foot in front of the other. Start to gain a little bit more confidence. If you've been checked out by the doctor, they've done the necessary testing, go for that walk. Get your small win. Celebrate your small win. And start building it, because you can beat anxiety the same way multiple people have beat anxiety. But you can't do it if you stay stuck in your same mindset. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, please feel free. Let me know. I love you all. I don't want to see anybody suffer. So take this as a little bit of motivation. Take my story, take other people's story as a little bit of motivation that it can be done. You can go from the worst place, the darkest place. You can be even borderline suicidal. You could be, quote unquote, clinically depressed. You could be prescribed medication. Okay? Take the label off of yourself. You're not a person, just because you have a diagnosis of being clinically depressed. You do not have to be depressed for the rest of your life. Okay, take that from me. I've been through that. I actually, the last story, I'm not even going to get into it right now. Maybe at a later time, because I don't want to keep the video going on too long. So again, thank you very much for making it to the end of the video. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please feel free. Let me know. You want to ask about anything that I've been through. You want to ask about what I meant by certain things. Again, I respond to every comment I've ever gotten on these things. Somebody did reach out and say that I got them through, or helped get them through one of the darkest days of their lives. And that's what makes it worth it. That's why I do this. I don't make anything off of it. I just know what it's like. I can sympathize. It's miserable. And you can get through it if you just follow the steps that everybody laid out before you. So take care. I'll see you in the next one.